I caught him bragging about sleeping with my wife in an airport bathroom while I sat dying in the next stall. He described everything: the motel, their next meeting. But when I investigated, I discovered something far worse: lies, betrayal, and a pregnancy that forced the hardest choice of my life. My name is Evan Hamilton. I'm 43 years old, married for 17 years to a woman I thought I knew inside and out. Jennifer and I met in college at a mutual friend's party, got married young at 26, built what I thought was a solid life together. We have 2 sons, Jack, who's 12, and Daniel, 10. They're good kids, smart, curious, full of energy. They still think their parents have it all figured out, that mom and dad are unbreakable. I work as a business development manager for a major telecom company, landing contracts worth millions and schmoozing clients at endless dinners and conferences. It's demanding work, lots of travel, lots of late nights, cultivating relationships that keep the revenue flowing. The money's solid, the benefits are good, and I've always prided myself on being the kind of man who provides for his family. A protector, a provider, someone my sons could look up to and respect. That Thursday night in September, I'd flown back from a 3-day sales conference in Boston. The keynote dinner had featured what I can only describe as suspect shrimp. By the time my plane touched down at LaGuardia, my stomach was staging a full-scale revolt. I barely made it through baggage claim before sprinting for the nearest restroom. I was sitting there in that grimy stall, head in my hands, trying not to pass out from the cramping, when I heard the main door swing open. Heavy footsteps. 2 voices echoed off the tile walls, amplified by the hollow acoustics. I recognized them instantly. Keith Whitlock and Ryan Parker, both freight coordinators for my division of the company. Keith was a loudmouth, always bragging about conquests and deals. Ryan was quieter, more skeptical, but he followed Keith around like a shadow. Keith's laugh hit me first, that obnoxious bark that always grated on my nerves during meetings. I stayed silent, frozen. No man wants to announce himself mid-battle with food poisoning, especially not to coworkers. Then I heard it. "Dude, I'm not lying," Keith said, his voice dripping with smugness and arrogance. "I hooked up with Hamilton's wife last weekend, right after that awards dinner at the Marriott downtown." My stomach, already in knots, twisted harder. Every muscle in my body tensed. "You're full of it," Ryan shot back, disbelief clear in his tone. "Jennifer's devoted to Evan. Everyone in the office knows that. They're like the perfect couple." "No, man." Keith laughed again, low and ugly. "Slipped her a couple extra drinks after Hamilton got called away for that emergency client meeting around 9. She loosened right up. We didn't even make out of the parking garage before things got heated. Backseat of my car, if you know what I mean." I couldn't breathe. My vision blurred. Jennifer had come home that night around midnight, apologizing for being late. Told me the dinner ran long, that she'd stayed to help coordinate the charity raffle and clean up. I believed every single word, kissed her goodnight, and gone to sleep beside her without a second thought. "And get this," Keith continued, his voice cocky as hell. "We're meeting again Friday afternoon. She's telling Evan she's got a client lunch uptown that'll run until 3 or 4. Poor bastard's watching the kids while she sneaks off to the Skyline Motel on Route 22. Room's already booked under my name." The sink turned on. Water rushed and echoed. My hands shook violently against the cold metal stall divider. "You're playing with fire, man," Ryan muttered nervously. "If Hamilton finds out, you're done. He's got connections. He could bury you. Fire's half the fun, brother. Besides, Hamilton's too busy chasing his next big contract to notice what's happening right under his nose." The door slammed shut. Their voices faded down the hallway, leaving behind only the hum of fluorescent lights and the drip of a leaking faucet. I sat there in that grimy airport bathroom, paralyzed, shaking, while everything I'd built over 17 years shattered into 1,000 jagged pieces around me. I barely slept that night, lying next to Jennifer in the darkness, listening to her soft, steady breathing. I replayed every moment from the airport bathroom in my head. Keith's voice, his words, the casual cruelty of it all. I wanted to shake her awake, demand answers, scream until the walls came down. But something held me back. Years of investigative instincts from my work, maybe, or just the cold, creeping fear that if I confronted her without proof, she'd lie her way out of it, and I'd be left looking like a paranoid fool. Instead, I lay there analyzing everything like a case file. The awards dinner at the Marriott. I'd been there for the first 2 hours, networking with regional managers, laughing at forced jokes, playing the game. Then my phone had buzzed. Emergency client situation in Philadelphia. A contract worth $3 million was about to collapse because of a miscommunication with their legal team. I'd apologized to Jennifer, kissed her cheek, and rushed out to handle it remotely from the hotel business center. I was gone for nearly 3 hours. When I returned to the ballroom around 11:30, the event was winding down. Jennifer was sitting at our table with a few co-workers, including Keith's supervisor and his wife. She looked relaxed, glass of white wine in hand, chatting easily about nothing important. Keith wasn't anywhere in sight. I'd assumed he'd already left. Nothing seemed off. Nothing at all. Jennifer had smiled when she saw me, slipped her hand into mine, said she'd missed me. We'd driven home together, talking about the speeches, laughing about the awkward karaoke some VP had inflicted on everyone. Normal, ordinary, comforting. But that night, after we got home, things shifted. Jennifer had initiated intimacy with an intensity one hadn't seen in months. Passionate, almost urgent, like she was trying to prove something or bury something deep. At the time, I thought it was the wine talking, maybe the excitement of the evening. Now, lying in the dark, I wondered if it was guilt she was trying to drown. The next morning, Jennifer moved through the house like clockwork, made breakfast for the boys, reminded Jack about his soccer practice, helped Daniel find his missing homework. She kissed me goodbye before I left for work, her lips soft against mine, her smile warm and familiar. "Love you," she said. "Love you too," I replied automatically, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. At the office, I couldn't focus. Sat through a conference call about quarterly projections without hearing a single word. My assistant asked if I was feeling all right. I lied and said the food poisoning was still messing with me. Around noon, I called my father. My dad's 70 now, retired from a career in corporate finance, living quietly in a townhouse upstate. We don't talk as often as we should, but when I do reach out, he's always steady, always clear-headed. "Evan," he said, surprised. "Everything okay?" I hesitated, staring out my office window at the city below. "Dad, I need to ask you something. About Mom." A long pause. "What about her?" I took a breath. Did she ever cheat on you?" The silence stretched, so long I thought the call had dropped. "Why are you asking me this?" my father finally said, his voice careful, measured. "Just answer the question. Please." Another pause. Then, quietly, "Yes." My chest tightened. "It was years ago," he continued. "Before you were born. She had an affair with my business partner, a man I trusted completely. Lasted about 6 months before I found out." "How did you find out?" "I followed her," he said simply. "Put a tracker on her car. Hired a private investigator. Got the proof I needed. And you stayed together." "I did. Your mother begged for forgiveness. Swore it would never happen again. And it didn't, far as I know." He paused. "But Evan, I need to tell you something. That decision, staying with her, it changed me. I never fully trusted her again. Every late night, every unexplained errand, every time she smiled at another man, I questioned it. It poisoned the marriage slowly, over decades." I closed my eyes. "Son," my father said gently, "why are you asking me this?" "I think Jennifer's cheating on me." He didn't ask how I knew or why I thought that. He just sighed, long and heavy. "Then you need proof," he said. "Not assumptions, not suspicions. Cold, hard evidence. Because if you confront her without it, and she denies it, you'll spend the rest of your life wondering if you were wrong. And if you're right, you need that proof to protect yourself and your sons." "How do I get it?" "The same way I did," he said. "You investigate." Friday morning came too fast. Jennifer hummed while making coffee, moving through the kitchen with the easy grace of someone who had nothing to hide. She kissed both boys goodbye, reminded them about their weekend chores, then turned to me with that familiar smile. "Don't forget," she said lightly. "I've got that client lunch today. She'll be back around 4." I looked up from my laptop, keeping my expression neutral. "Which client again?" "The Patterson account," she replied smoothly. "Meeting at that new bistro in Tribeca. You know how she is. Loves to talk business over a long meal." The lie came so easily it made my skin crawl. "Right," I said. "I might grab lunch with some of the guys from work myself." Keith and Ryan mentioned wanting to hit that steakhouse downtown. Jennifer's hand froze for just a beat as she reached for her purse. Barely a second, but I caught it. Her eyes flickered with something, uncertainty, maybe concern, before she recovered. "Keith Whitlock?" she asked, her tone carefully casual. "Yeah. What?" She shrugged, turning away to check her phone. "No reason. He just gives me weird vibes. Something about him feels off." "You barely know him," I pressed. "I talked to him a little at the awards dinner," she said, still not meeting my eyes. "Just something in the way he looked at people. Creepy." Her explanation fit perfectly. Too perfectly. Like she'd rehearsed it. "Well, I'll let him know you think he's creepy," I said, watching her reaction. "Don't." She laughed nervously. "I don't want work drama. Just be careful around him." After she left, I sat at the kitchen table and made a decision. 17 years of marriage, 2 sons who still thought their parents were solid, a life built on promises and trust. It deserved more than paranoia. It deserved the truth. I called my assistant and cleared my afternoon schedule. Then I made 3 calls. First, to a colleague who owed me a favor. I requisitioned our company's mobile surveillance van, officially for contract negotiation analysis. The van was equipped with directional microphones, high-definition cameras, GPS tracking, everything I needed. Second, to an old friend from my firefighter days who now ran a security consulting firm. Within an hour, I had a voice-activated recording device the size of a quarter and a GPS tracker that could hide inside a key fob. Third, to Ryan Parker. I caught him at lunch, sitting alone in a sandwich shop near the office. Slid into the booth across from him before he could react. "Evan," he said, startled. "Hey man, what's up?" "I need to talk to you about something," Keith said. I kept my voice low, controlled. "And before you try to cover for him, you should know I was in the bathroom Monday night." I heard everything. The color drained from Ryan's face. His sandwich dropped onto the paper wrapper. "I don't know what you're talking about," he stammered. "Yes, you do." I leaned forward. "Keith bragged about sleeping with my wife. Told you they were meeting today at the Skyline Motel. I need you to fill in the details he left out." Ryan looked like he wanted to disappear through the floor. "Evan, listen, Keith talks big about everything. Half the stuff he says is made up. I don't know what's real. Then tell me what he said. All of it." Ryan's hands trembled as he reached for his water. "He said he booked a room at the Skyline Motel off Route 22. Room 114. Said Jennifer would meet him there around 2:30. I pulled out my phone and hit record under the table. "What else?" "He said they hooked up at the Marriott parking garage last weekend, after you left that awards dinner. Said he'd been flirting with her for months, and that night was the first time she, responded." "Did he say anything else about today's meeting?" Ryan hesitated. "He said she set it up. That she texted him Wednesday, asking when they could meet again." My stomach twisted, but I kept my face stone cold. "Thank you for being honest. Evan, man, I'm sorry. I should have said something. I just didn't know if it was true or if Keith was just running his mouth like always." I stood, pocketed my phone with the recording secured. "You'll keep this conversation between us?" "Of course." "I swear." "Good. Because if Keith finds out I know, you're going to be the first person I assume told him." Ryan nodded frantically. "I won't say anything. I promise." Walking back to my car, I felt the investigator in me fully awaken. The man who'd spent years analyzing evidence, tracking lies, building cases. This wasn't about emotion anymore. This was about proof. By 2 o'clock, I'd be ready. The Skyline Motel sat off Route 22 like a relic from another era. Faded blue paint, crumbling parking lot, the kind of place you paid cash and didn't ask questions. Perfect for people who needed to disappear for an hour. I arrived at noon, driving the surveillance van with company plates and a forged work order clipped to the visor. Parked in the back lot with a clear sight line to room 114, partially hidden behind a maintenance shed. Inside the van, I activated the camera system. 2 high-definition lenses, one fixed on the door to 114, the other covering the parking lot entrance. Set them to record continuously from 1 o'clock until 6. Added motion sensors that would ping my phone the second anyone approached that room. Next, I walked into the motel office. The clerk was a kid, maybe 22, scrolling through his phone with dead eyes. I flashed a business card that identified me as an insurance fraud investigator, slid a $100 bill across the counter. "Need to confirm a reservation," I said quietly. "Keith Whitlock. Should have a room booked for today." The kid glanced at the cash, then tapped his keyboard. Room 114. Checked in this morning around 10. Paid cash for a 3-hour block. I slid another 50 across. I need the best parking spot you've got. Somewhere with a view of that room, but out of sight. He pocketed the money. Spot behind the maintenance shed. Nobody uses it. You'll have a perfect angle. Appreciate it. Back in the van, I tested the audio feeds. Crystal clear. If anyone so much as whispered near that door, I'd hear every word. Then I waited. At 1:45, my phone buzzed. Motion alert. Through the monitor, I watched Keith's black Audi pull into the lot. He stepped out wearing jeans and a leather jacket, carrying a small overnight bag. Cocky stride, checking his phone, smiling at something on the screen. He disappeared into room 114. My chest tightened. Part of me wanted to storm that door right now, drag him out, make him answer for what he'd done. But that wasn't the plan. The plan required patience, control, and cold, irrefutable evidence. At 2:20, another alert. A silver SUV pulled in. I recognized it immediately. Jennifer's car. She parked 3 spots from Keith's Audi, turned off the engine, and sat there for a long moment. Even through the camera, I could see her checking her reflection in the mirror, adjusting her hair. My hands clenched into fists. She stepped out wearing a simple black dress, heels, sunglasses, looked around nervously, then walked quickly toward room 114. She knocked once. The door swung open. Keith stood there, grinning, reaching for her. And then Jennifer stepped inside. The door closed behind her. I sat there in the van, staring at the monitor, feeling every ounce of my 17-year marriage collapse in real time. The cameras recorded everything. The timestamp, the license plates, her walking through that door voluntarily. I forced myself to breathe, to think. Keith had lied about one thing. He'd said he was meeting Jennifer. But the woman who walked into room 114 wasn't my wife. I rewound the footage, zoomed in on her face as she turned slightly before entering. Different nose, different jawline, different everything. That wasn't Jennifer. I enhanced the image further, cross-referenced it against company photos I had stored on my laptop. Melissa Ward, my boss Chandler's wife. The pieces slammed together in my mind. Keith had been sleeping with Chandler's wife, not mine. And he'd used Jennifer's name as a cover story, throwing me off the scent while he carried on an affair with the boss's wife. Relief and rage flooded through me in equal measure. Jennifer hadn't betrayed me, but Keith had dragged her name through the mud, made me doubt her, poisoned our marriage with lies. I picked up my phone and dialed Chandler Ward's private number. Chandler, I said when he answered. We need to meet. Today. I have something you need to see. What's going on, Evan? Just meet me. Alone. I'll send you the address. This better be important. It is, I said, staring at the frozen image of Melissa Ward stepping into that motel room. Trust me. Chandler Ward arrived 30 minutes later, pulling up in his black Mercedes. He stepped out looking confused and irritated, the kind of expression a man wears when his afternoon's been hijacked without explanation. I met him in the parking lot before he could see the motel. Evan, what the hell is this about? He demanded. You said it was urgent. It is. I handed him my tablet, the footage already queued up. Watch this. He took the device, his face skeptical. Then he pressed play. I watched his expression change in real time. Confusion shifted to recognition, recognition to disbelief, disbelief to something darker and more primal. His jaw clenched. His hands tightened around the tablet until I thought the screen might shatter. The footage showed everything. Melissa's car pulling in. Her walking to room 114. Keith opening the door. Her stepping inside. When it finished, Chandler just stood there, statue still, staring at the frozen image of his wife entering that room. How long? He finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I don't know, but there's more you need to hear. I played the audio recording from the airport bathroom. Keith's voice filled the space between us, bragging about sleeping with someone's wife, making crude jokes, describing details that made my skin crawl. He used my wife's name as cover. I explained. Told everyone he was sleeping with Jennifer to throw people off if word got around. Made me doubt my own marriage while he was carrying on with Melissa. Chandler's face had gone pale, then red, then pale again. Where is he now? Still inside. Room 114. And Melissa? Still inside. Chandler handed back the tablet and started walking toward the motel. Chandler, wait, I called. Think about what you're doing. I know exactly what I'm doing. His voice was cold, controlled, dangerous. I followed him up the exterior stairs. He stopped in front of room 114, pulled out his phone, and made a call. Put on speaker. Melissa answered after 3 rings. Hey, honey. What's up? Where are you? Chandler asked calmly. At the salon. Getting my hair done. What? Which salon? A pause. The usual one. Bella's on 5th. Why are you asking? Just curious. Chandler's eyes never left the door. What time will you be home? Probably around 5. Maybe 6. Great. See you then. He hung up and knocked on the door. Hard. 3 sharp raps that echoed down the breezeway. Movement inside. Whispers. The door opened a few inches, security chain still attached. Keith's face appeared in the gap, annoyed until he recognized who was standing there. The color drained from his face. Chandler. What are you? Open the door, Keith. I'm kind of busy right now. Chandler slammed his shoulder into the door. The chain ripped free. The door flew open. Keith stumbled backward. Melissa was standing near the bed, clutching a sheet around herself, her face frozen in horror. Chandler, she gasped. I can explain. Save it. Chandler's voice was ice. He turned to Keith. You're fired. Effective immediately. Security will escort you out of the building Monday morning. Don't bother cleaning out your desk. We'll mail you whatever's left. You can't fire me for sleeping with my wife while working under my employ, for using company time and resources to facilitate an affair, for creating a hostile work environment. Chandler smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Try me. He turned to Melissa. Get dressed. We're going home. You can pack your things tonight. Chandler, please, Melissa begged, tears streaming down her face. It was a mistake. I'm sorry. So am I, he said quietly. We walked out together, leaving them both standing there in that cheap motel room with their lies exposed and nowhere left to hide. In a parking lot, Chandler paused beside his car. Thank you, Evan, for coming to me quietly. You could have made this a public nightmare. You've been a good boss. A fair man. You deserve to know. He nodded slowly. Keith goes Monday, and I'll need your help drafting a termination letter that covers our legal basis. Done. And Evan. Chandler met my eyes. I'm sorry he dragged Jennifer into this. That he made you doubt her. Me too. As I drove away, I pulled out my phone and called Jennifer. Hey, she answered, sounding happy. How was your day? Long, I said. But good. I'll tell you about it when I get home. Everything okay? Yeah, I said, meaning it for the first time in days. Everything's okay. That night, I picked up dinner from Jennifer's favorite Italian place and came home with a plan. The boys were at my parents' house for the weekend, giving us the house to ourselves. Jennifer met me at the door, curious about the sudden date night energy. What's the occasion? She asked, smiling as I set the food on the table. Just wanted to spend time with you. I poured 2 glasses of wine. No kids, no distractions. We ate slowly, talking about nothing important, laughing at old jokes, falling back into the rhythm we'd built over 17 years. She looked beautiful in the candlelight, relaxed and happy. After dinner, I led her to the couch and handed her my phone. Before we go any further tonight, I said carefully, I need you to listen to something. All of it. Then we'll talk. Her smile faded. Evan, you're scaring me. Just listen. Please. I played the audio from the airport bathroom. Keith's voice filled our living room, bragging about sleeping with Hamilton's wife, describing the parking garage encounter, planning their meeting at the Skyline Motel. Jennifer's face went through a dozen emotions. Confusion, shock, horror, rage. By the time the recording ended, she was shaking. That lying piece of, she couldn't even finish. I never. Not once. Evan, you have to believe me. I know. I said gently. I investigated. I followed the lead to the motel. I recorded everything. I showed her the footage. Keith arriving. Then the woman entering room 114. That's not me, Jennifer whispered, staring at the screen. No, it's Melissa Ward, Chandler's wife. Understanding dawned. He used my name as a cover. Exactly. Made it sound like he was having an affair with you, so no one would suspect it was actually the boss's wife. Jennifer's hands clenched into fists. I want to kill him. Evan, I swear to God. Chandler already handled it. Keith's fired, and Melissa's getting divorced. She looked at me, tears forming. You thought I cheated on you. I heard him say your name. I heard specific details about that night at the Marriott. It sounded real. And you didn't confront me immediately. Her voice softened. You investigated first. I needed proof, I admitted. Not for me. For us. If I'd confronted you without evidence and you denied it, I would have spent the rest of our marriage wondering if I was wrong. And if you had been guilty, I needed documentation to protect myself and the boys. Jennifer wiped her eyes. Most men would have just accused me. Screamed. Left. I'm not most men. She leaned forward and kissed me. Fierce and desperate. I would never cheat on you. Never. You have to know that. I do now. I pulled her close. But Jennifer, I need to be honest. For a few days there, I doubted everything. Every smile, every touch, every word. It nearly destroyed me. I can't even imagine, she whispered. If someone told me you were cheating, if I heard details like that, I don't know if I'd have the strength to investigate instead of just falling apart. You're stronger than you think. We sat there holding each other for a long time, processing everything that could have gone wrong, but didn't. Later that night, Jennifer asked, what happens now with Keith? He's done. Chandler made sure of it. And word will spread. He won't work in this industry again. Good. She hesitated. And what about us? Us. I looked at her. We get stronger. We remember that trust isn't just about believing the best in each other. It's about seeking the truth, even when it's terrifying. Jennifer nodded slowly. I love you, Evan Hamilton. I love you too. We made love that night, not out of desperation or doubt, but out of certainty. The kind of certainty that only comes from facing the worst and finding solid ground on the other side. Saturday morning came with unexpected sunshine and a sense of peace I hadn't felt in days. Jennifer and I woke up late, tangled in sheets. The weight of suspicion finally lifted from both of us. She propped herself up on one elbow, studying my face. You look different, she said softly. Different how? Lighter, like you've been carrying something heavy and finally put it down. That's exactly how I feel. I pulled her closer. I'm sorry I doubted you, even for a moment. You had reason to doubt, she said. Keith made it sound real. Specific. I probably would have investigated too if I'd heard something like that about you. We spent the morning together, just the two of us. Made breakfast, talked about nothing important, rediscovered the easy rhythm we'd built over 17 years. It felt like coming home after being lost for too long. Around noon, Jennifer's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then went pale. What's wrong? I asked immediately. She handed me the phone without a word. It was a message from her doctor's office, reminding her about her appointment on Tuesday to discuss her recent lab results. What lab results? I asked carefully. Jennifer bit her lip. I've been feeling off lately. Tired. Nauseous in the mornings. I thought maybe it was stress from work, so I went in for a checkup last week. My chest tightened. And they ran some tests. Blood work. The nurse said the doctor wanted to discuss the results in person. When were you planning to tell me? After I knew what we were dealing with, she said quietly. I didn't want to worry you over nothing. I set the phone down and took her hands. Jennifer, we're in this together. Whatever it is, we face it together. She nodded, tears forming. I'm scared, Evan. What if it's something serious? Then we'll handle it. But let's not assume the worst until we know. That night, after the boys came home, Jennifer seemed distracted. She moved through dinner mechanically, smiling at the right moments, but clearly somewhere else in her mind. Later, as we were getting ready for bed, she turned to me suddenly. Evan, there's something else I need to tell you. My stomach dropped. Okay. After that awards dinner, after that night when things were so intense between us, I started feeling different, more tired than usual, and the nausea started a few days later. Understanding crashed over me. You think you're pregnant? I don't know, she whispered, but the timing lines up. I'm about 9 weeks late. I took a home test last week. It was positive. I sat down on the edge of the bed, processing. 9 weeks. That means it happened that night, after the Marriott dinner. The same night Keith claimed he'd slept with her. The same night she'd been so passionate, so urgent. My mind spun through calculations, possibilities, fears I didn't want to name. Evan, Jennifer said, reading my face. I know what you're thinking, but I swear to you, that baby is yours. I never touched Keith. Never. I believe you, I said, and I meant it. But a small, dark voice in the back of my mind whispered doubts I couldn't quite silence. Jennifer knelt in front of me, gripping my hands. When the baby's born, if you need to, we could do a paternity test. I'll take one right now if it helps. No, I said firmly. I trust you. I believe you. And I'm not going to let Keith's lies poison this. She collapsed against me, sobbing. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry you even have to think about this. It's not your fault. I held her tight. None of this is your fault. But as I lay awake that night, listening to Jennifer's breathing beside me, I couldn't stop the calculations running through my head. 9 weeks. The timeline fit. But so did Keith's story, if he'd been telling the truth about that night. I pushed the thought away, hating myself for even entertaining it. This was my wife, my partner, the mother of my sons. And if she said the baby was mine, then the baby was mine. I had to believe that. I had to. Monday morning arrived cold and gray. I drove to the office early, meeting Chandler in his private conference room at 7:30. He looked like he'd aged 10 years over the weekend, dark circles under his eyes, his usually sharp appearance slightly disheveled. Rough weekend? I asked. Melissa moved out Saturday night, he said flatly. Took her clothes, her jewelry, everything that mattered to her. Left the house keys on the kitchen counter. I'm sorry, Chandler. Don't be. I'm the one who was blind. He pulled out a folder. Let's get this done. We spent an hour drafting Keith's termination letter. Gross violation of company ethics. Inappropriate conduct with a superior spouse. Creating a hostile work environment through fabricated claims about coworkers. Every legal angle covered, every loophole closed. At 9 o'clock, HR called Keith in the conference room. He walked in cocky, smirking, completely unaware of what was waiting for him. His expression changed the second he saw Chandler and me sitting side by side. What's this about? Keith asked, the confidence draining from his voice. Chandler slid the termination letter across the table. You're fired. Effective immediately. Security will escort you out. Keith's face went white. You can't. I can. And I have. Sign the acknowledgement form, or we'll pursue legal action for defamation regarding your false claims about Mr. Hamilton's wife. Keith looked at me, then back at Chandler. This is because of Melissa? That was mutual, man. She wanted it as much as I did. Sign the form, Keith. He grabbed the pen and scrawled his signature, his hand shaking. 2 security guards appeared at the door. Escort Mr. Whitlock out of the building, Chandler instructed. Make sure he doesn't access any company systems or take any property. Keith stood, his face red with humiliation and rage. As he passed me, he leaned in close. I hope you're ready for the truth, Hamilton, he hissed. Because that baby your wife's carrying, there's a good chance it's mine. My blood went ice cold. Get him out of here, Chandler snapped. The guards hauled Keith away, his voice echoing down the hallway as he shouted threats and accusations that made heads turn throughout the office. I sat there, paralyzed, his words echoing in my mind. Evan, Chandler said carefully. Don't listen to him. He's trying to hurt you because he's got nothing left. How did he know Jennifer's pregnant? I asked quietly. We haven't told anyone. Chandler hesitated. Office gossip travels fast. Someone probably overheard something. But doubt had already planted itself deep in my chest, spreading roots I couldn't pull out. That afternoon, the company-wide email went out. Keith Whitlock and Ryan Parker terminated for violations of company ethics. No details, just clean, efficient closure. Whispers spread through the office like wildfire. People speculated, invented stories, filled in blanks with their own theories. By the end of the day, my phone was full of messages. Some supportive, some curious, some just nosy. Jennifer called around 4. I heard what happened. Are you okay? Yeah, I lied. Just a long day. Evan, people are talking. Saying Keith got fired because of something involving us. Let them talk. It'll die down. Did he say anything? When you fired him? I hesitated too long. Evan, what did he say? Nothing that matters. I replied, hating the lie, but unable to burden her with Keith's final poison. I don't believe you, but I'll drop it for now. She sighed. Come home soon, okay? I miss you. I will. I love you. I love you too. I hung up and stared at my computer screen, seeing nothing. Keith's words played on repeat in my mind. That baby your wife's carrying, there's a good chance it's mine. I knew it was a lie, a last desperate attempt to wound me. But knowing something and believing it are two different things. And right now, sitting alone in my office while doubt ate away at my certainty, I wasn't sure which one was winning. Tuesday afternoon, Jennifer and I sat in Dr. Fletcher's office, waiting for the results that would either confirm our hopes or shatter them completely. Jennifer gripped my hand so tightly I could feel her pulse racing through her palm. Dr. Fletcher entered with a folder and a gentle smile. She was a woman in her 50s, calm and professional, the kind of doctor who delivered difficult news enough times to know how to soften the blow. "Jennifer, Evan," she said, sitting across from us. "Thank you for coming in. I have your results. Just tell us," Jennifer said, her voice barely steady. "Whatever it is, we can handle it. You're pregnant. About 9 weeks along, just as you suspected. Everything looks healthy so far. Congratulations." Relief flooded Jennifer's face, but I felt something more complicated churning in my chest. Joy mixed with doubt, certainty fighting against Keith's poisonous final words. "That's wonderful news," Jennifer breathed. "Thank you, doctor." Dr. Fletcher looked at me, her expression shifting slightly. "Evan, you seem troubled. Is there something you'd like to discuss?" I hesitated, feeling Jennifer's eyes on me. "Is it possible to do a paternity test before the baby's born?" The room went silent. Jennifer's hand slipped from mine. "Evan," she whispered, hurt flooding her voice. "I need to know," I said quietly, hating myself but unable to stop. "Keith said things when we fired him, things that got into my head. And I know you're telling the truth, Jennifer. I do. But I need certainty. I need to silence that voice once and for all." Dr. Fletcher nodded slowly. "There are non-invasive prenatal paternity tests available. We can do one as early as 10 weeks. It's safe for both mother and baby, requires just a blood sample from Jennifer and a cheek swab from you." Jennifer stood abruptly. "I can't believe you're asking for this. Jennifer, after everything, after you investigated, after you found proof I was innocent, you still doubt me?" Tears streamed down her face. "What kind of marriage do we have if you need a test to believe your own wife?" "It's not about believing you," I said, standing to face her. "It's about silencing the doubt Keith planted. I hate that it's there, but it is. And if we do this test, if we get that proof, then no one, not Keith, not anyone, can ever make me question it again. So do it for yourself," Jennifer said bitterly. "Because I don't need proof. I know whose baby this is." Dr. Fletcher cleared her throat gently. "Why don't you two take some time to discuss this privately? There's no rush to decide today." We left the office in silence, drove home without speaking. The distance between us felt like a canyon. That night, after the boys were asleep, Jennifer found me sitting on the back porch, staring at nothing. "Evan," she said quietly, sitting beside me, "I've been thinking about what you said." "I'm sorry," I began. "I shouldn't have. Let me finish." She took a breath. "You're right. Keith planted poison, and it's eating at you. I can see it. And as much as it hurts that you need proof, I understand why. So we'll do the test." I turned to her, stunned. "Jennifer, but I need you to understand something," she continued, her voice firm. "This isn't about me proving my innocence. This is about you finding peace. Because I already have peace. I know the truth. And once that test comes back showing you're the father, I need you to let this go completely. No more doubts. No more second-guessing. We move forward or we don't move at all. I promise," I said, pulling her close. "Once we know it's done. Forever." She leaned against me, and we sat there in the darkness, holding each other while the weight of Keith's lies slowly began to lift. 2 weeks later, the results came back. I opened the envelope in Dr. Fletcher's office, Jennifer beside me, both of us holding our breath. Probability of paternity, 99.9%. I was the father. Relief crashed over me, so powerfully I nearly collapsed. Jennifer was crying, but this time from joy, from vindication, from the knowledge that we'd survived the worst and come out stronger. "I told you," she whispered, laughing through her tears. "I told you. You did." I kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. "And I should have never doubted. But you needed this," she said gently. "And that's okay. We did what we needed to do to protect our marriage." That night, we told Jack and Daniel they were going to have a little brother or sister. Their excitement was infectious, pure, untainted by the darkness we'd waded through to get here. And for the first time since that night in the airport bathroom, I felt completely, entirely whole. 3 months later, Chandler Ward called me into his office. The divorce with Melissa had been finalized the week before, and he looked lighter somehow, like a man who'd finally stopped carrying a burden he'd held too long. "Evan, sit down," he said, gesturing to the chair across from his desk. "I want to talk to you about something important." "Okay. How would you like to be promoted to Executive Vice President of Strategic Operations?" I blinked, stunned. "What?" "You handled the Keith situation with professionalism and discretion. You protected not just your own family, but this entire company from a potential scandal. That kind of judgment, that kind of character, it's rare." He slid a folder across the desk. "The position comes with a significant raise, stock options, relocation assistance, if you want to move to a different regional office. You've earned this." I opened the folder, scanning the numbers. The salary was nearly triple what I was currently making. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Chandler smiled. "You've got a growing family to think about. Let me help you take care of them." I thought about Jennifer, about the baby growing inside her, about Jack and Daniel and the life we were building together, about second chances and new beginnings. "Yes," I said. "Absolutely yes." That evening, I took Jennifer to our favorite restaurant to celebrate. She was showing now, her pregnancy obvious and beautiful, and she glowed with happiness as I told her about the promotion. "We could move," I said. "Pick any city with a regional office. Start fresh somewhere new. Or we could stay here," Jennifer countered. "Near your parents, near our friends. We build a life here, Evan. I don't want to run from what happened. I want to face it and prove we're stronger than Keith's lies ever were." "You're right," I agreed. "We stay. We build. We show everyone what a real marriage looks like." 7 months later, our daughter was born. We named her Grace, because that's what we'd given each other when we needed it most. Grace to forgive, grace to trust, grace to start over. Keith Whitlock never worked in the telecommunications industry again. Word spread quietly through professional networks, and doors closed wherever he tried to open them. Last I heard, he'd moved to another state, trying to rebuild a career that would never recover. Melissa remarried within a year, though I heard through the grapevine that marriage didn't last either. Some people never learn, but we did. Jennifer and I learned that trust isn't blind faith. It's choosing to seek truth, even when it's terrifying. It's investigating, questioning, demanding proof, and then accepting that proof when it arrives. We learned that doubt doesn't mean the end of love. Sometimes it means you care enough to make sure the foundation is solid before building higher. And we learned that the strongest marriages aren't the ones that never face storms. They're the ones that weather those storms and come out knowing exactly why they're worth fighting for. On Grace's first birthday, we stood in our backyard watching Jack and Daniel play with their little sister, teaching her how to walk on wobbly legs across the grass. "We made it," Jennifer said softly, leaning against me. "We did," I agreed. And as I watched my family, my whole family, safe and together and unbreakable, I realized something my father tried to teach me years ago finally made sense. The truth doesn't always set you free. Sometimes it binds you tighter to what matters most. And I wouldn't have it any other way.